There we are. Good afternoon, evening, everyone. I need a haircut, but my hair doesn't fit in the frame here anymore. Here's to all of you from Colorado. New setup tonight. I'm gonna wait for some people to jump in here, and then I'll start talking, run my mouth and stuff. So yeah, I will wait just a moment. There's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on in this quarantining world. But I'll tell you what, it feels nice to do this with no shoes on. Which you can't see and you don't want to, but you know, it's there. What up, Trace? Timmy, Catherine. Man, I love seeing everybody in here. So I'm just gonna wait till some more folks jump in here, and then we'll get kicking. John Lopez, I just sent your book out, man. It was late. I thought I already sent it, and then I didn't. And my wife was like, "Did you send John Lopez's book yet?" And I was like, "Oh, damn it, I didn't do it yet." Miss Henry, Miss Davis, what's up, everybody? Royster. Not trying to jump over anyone. Miss Lee, I'm going to say your name wrong. Is it Soo Jung? I feel like I'm saying it right. I'm so terrible. What up, Chris? So, all right, here we go, everybody. From Ginny. Is that Ginny? Like Lars Ginny?
Oh, must be. I don't see it. Where is it?
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah.
It's funny to see people that I know in like real life sometimes in here. So let's jump into it. So one, we have this new setup because I am now. We were laughing that this could be called live from the laundry room, but I am operating out of the laundry room these days, and so it just makes life like slightly easier when we're back here because the kids like can walk by and get a drink if they want to. They can like. People can come to the door and you don't hear the dog going as nuts from back here.
We're at the end of the house.
We're at the back end of the house. So yeah, but has its own challenges that we're trying to dial in here. So look, so let me talk about this. Can you pull up that, John? Like where that thing is? We can do it on here. Tomorrow night, or actually, should we wait till Tuesday night? Should I wait till the middle of the thing to do this? Or
no, but just keep yammering.
Okay. So tomorrow night or Tuesday night, I got asked to do this thing that's called a Get Happy Hour. And so my friend Dustin, who does, what's Dustin's? Thing is just Dustin Ecker. Yeah. Dustin Ecker. He's like, and I'd say it like that because he's the only like teacher that doesn't have like a teachery name on Instagram. So he he's a friend of mine, and this other guy, Albert Shivy, he goes by Call Me Shivy on Instagram. So they got tied into this thing that they are trying to raise $1 million. There's an organization called that is going by the name of the Get Happy Hour. Is trying to raise $1 million for teachers, and it's $1 million that like that $1 million comes in and it goes to teachers. It doesn't pay for production. It doesn't pay for anything else. So it's the production company that does like that works with Zach Galifianakis to make Between Two Ferns. So they asked a bunch of us educators, and it's a lot of people from Instagram that are on there. Dan Porterfield is the one who's not narrating it, but what's he doing? What do you call that, John? Hosting it. Colin Powell's going to be on there. John Legend's going to be on there. I forget who else was on there. There's a whole bunch of crazy. Oh, here's the speakers. Ken Burns, the documentary filmmaker who's amazing, is going to be on there, and like all these other folks. And it's like, everybody's favorite. What's his name? Is it Captain William McRaven? Admiral William McRaven? I don't know. The guy that talks about make your bed, and everyone loves that TED Talk. So it's sick, man, and it's going to be on.
Tracy just posted that on Facebook.
Tracy
yeah, Fincher did.
It's great. So it's on, what's the channel that it's on? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's on theirs, an explanation.
1 hour virtual event, Tuesday, May 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can check it out on Explanation Kids or at Time for Kids. And so if you just go to the teachergethappyhour.com, all the information is right there. And the thing that I thought was really interesting about this was, one, they wanted voices from real teachers. So we were asked like, what's working in distance learning and what's not working in distance learning. And a lot of questions around that. And so it was fun to be able to have like this kind of like real conversation with people that are really they're in the classroom, they're doing the work. And then to have all these folks kind of get behind teachers to get excited. Like, I think, is this the one that Crayola's backing this?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to raise $1 million so they can make tiny little like donations. So you like would essentially go on, it's as simple as a Google form. This is how it's going to work out. Like once they get the money, anyone on here can go on there. You fill out like your name and your address and what you want. And then that's it. It's not like a big like sign up thing.
For a grant. Basically.
You're essentially applying for a grant, but applying for a grant is so tedious all the time.
They cut out all the work.
They're cutting out all the nonsense and just making it so that like folks from here will be able to go on and then apply for it and get like these mini grants. So if you need stuff for your house, if your lighting is whack and you need a light ring, if you want supplies for your students, if you want to be able to order books on Amazon, which is one of my ideas I have lately, is like ordering books for my students and then mailing them to their houses. So you can find those needs. What maybe your students need food. Maybe you want to order pizzas. Like you can get this money and then help students or help yourself and help your family or help your situation so that you can do a better job. And so it's really, really exciting. And then there's another thing that I'm involved with that doesn't come up for a couple weeks. I think, I forget when the other one is. Man, there's so much going on. This is why Edie exists in my life. Edie is our friend from afar that assists me and all this stuff. But there's another thing I got roped into also, that's Instagram and Facebook are having a 2020 like a graduation, a virtual graduation that's going to be hosted by Oprah Winfrey. She's the commencement speaker. It's like Miley Cyrus is involved and all these A-list celebrities. And then I got a little tiny spot in there also, but it's all this bonkers stuff going on. But it's really good stuff. It's like people going on offense instead of defense, being in the middle of all this madness that's happening right now, and then like doing something positive for kids. And I can't help but get behind that. So that's it. Let's jump into this. Sorry, Jake, I didn't give you a jump off point there, Jake, the podcast guy, but you can include all that stuff. Real quick, if you're brand new here, I'll give you the quick, fast version of this. My name is CJ Reynolds. I run this channel called Real Rap With Reynolds. I really think there's probably people out there that could say this same thing that I do all the time.
Probably.
I bet Tracy Penter could be like, I run this YouTube channel. All right. So anyway, the whole idea here is me and my friends show up every Sunday night and we answer your questions. And so you put a question in the side, nothing's off the table. You can talk about anything except for the crazy devil guy that shows up every once in a while and starts talking about satanic craziness on the side and tells everyone to go and, whatever's happening. We just, Tracy and unicorns, take care of that guy. Other than that, everything's on the table. Whatever you're worried about, whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're getting ready for tomorrow, whatever's going on in your world of education and beyond, we're here to help you out. If that's not enough, I can speak with your school. You can get my book, Teach Your Class Off. There's the t-shirt. And all that stuff is available. You can go right to my website, realrapwithreynolds.com. And that's it. That's the short, quick version of it. Let's jump into some questions. Rebecca Wood. Oh, I feel like I haven't seen that name in a while. Is this the same old Rebecca Wood that's been around forever? Nice. I was asked this week to teach at an AP class for next year, U.S. government and comparative government. And while I'm excited, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Where do I start? First year teacher here. So that's a really great question. Oh, thanks. It's really funny when people are like, I read it in a day. I read it in 2 days. I'm like, it took a long time to write that thing. Like, it was like, damn. It's like when we go miniature golfing and they just want to rush through and it's like, bro, this was expensive. Let's just,
enjoy it.
We're at the bougie miniature golf, not the $1 one on the boardwalk. Senior honors classes, but not AP. And because I just never felt called to do that. So for me, it's always, who are you teaching and what's going to make it exciting, right? Like I get that AP classes, I feel like a lot of times get put in this special category because it's typically kids that want to learn, kids that are going to do the work, kids that are already well-read, like they're smart, like motivated students. And so you don't have to do all the stuff to get them real excited about it, but I still think you can get them excited about it. And so what are you going to do to make those lessons come alive? So to be honest with you, I would, I think the best move you can do is if someone on here knows something that like you teach AP, or when you started teaching AP, I feel like that's going to be a really good resource. Maybe you could trade email addresses with someone, or phone number, like email addresses and then phone numbers. I wouldn't put your phone number on here. And because I did that when I was on Ask Gary V, and then I started getting tons of phone calls from people that were like, can you hook me up with Gary V? And I was like, no. So then the other good place to put that is, or take that, is to the Facebook group, and just put that in there, because there's got, I think the people that are going to be able to help you the best are the people that have been through it. And then just, I would just make it the greatest. My friend Randy Rebai, who's really great author. I've talked about him on here a bunch. He's written some really great books called like After the Shot Drops and Patron States of Nothing. And so I just remember his AP class being riveting. Like I would sit in the back and try and do work, because we don't have any free space in our school. It's like every single room's taken up at every single moment of every single day. So I would just sit in the back and do work, and then I'd end up like getting caught up in whatever Randy was talking about. I'm like, man, I never really thought of that before. And it was just fascinating. So yeah, so not a good answer from me, but two good places to go. So maybe you can connect with someone and they can help you out, and then you can give me all the credit for it. Not really, just kidding. Next question. Jamie is asking, Jamie, like that profile picture. Oh, snap. Here's a great question. Letters for the year are
You didn't read it.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. She said, let's put you back up, and then I'll answer my question. Jamie asked, what are you planning to do with the letters you have your students write at the beginning of the year? So right here under my desk, bam, those are those letters. So when I went in to clean out my classroom the other week, I had to get all the stuff out. And so I made sure that I grabbed those letters, and then I asked the school for everyone's address. And I'm not sure. So I can have the school send them, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing, but I'm just going to like figure out like who still goes to our school, number one, because not all the kids like graduate from our school. And then in that case, I just hold on to them. And if anyone ever reaches out, I have all the letters from all the past students that never got them back, which is fun. Sometimes I get like, I'll meet someone randomly 10 years later and they're like, oh, I never got my letter from you. And I'm like, bro, just like send me your address and I'll send it right to you. So, but I'm still going to send them to them. If I thought about it, it would have been really fun the other week when we were driving around to students' houses to give them out then. But I think this is probably even better, because that was a moment and it was exciting. And then this will be a moment and this will be exciting. So it's like something good to get in the mail when staying at home just sucks for so many students right now. Stephanie Henry is asking, did I miss that we can get merch? Wife, want to speak to the merch situation?
Not yet. It's such a tangle web to figure out. And like, I'm really particular. So I just like make sure I look at all the options thoroughly. And that hasn't been easy I just feel like there's no designated time for me to work. I work around CJ's schedule and the kids and yada, yada.
Yeah.
So it's coming. But no, not yet.
So there's, so these were like the shirts that we got made for the giveaway. And then we just got like a couple more made for us. But then the shirts that we're going to get made are like far more elaborate than this. So, and then I think these shirts will be available also at some point, because they're just less expensive. And so the other stuff, like, but I think the thing with merch is like, it's not a thing to make money with. It's a thing that like, if you're a part of what we're doing and you want to support that, or you want to rock that,
right,
you want to get that certain kind of swag, like you can get it, but it will be we're basically selling stuff for cost. And then, but it's expensive. Like all the shirts are like really nice. Like these, I hate cheap t-shirts, like the ones your school gives away all the time and stuff. So they're like nice t-shirts with like nice graphics on them. So yeah, it's going to be sick. The one with the book cover on it is going to be sick. I'm so stoked for that one. Question?
Yes, the next one below that.
Oh, splendid. Thanks for being prepared. Nicole, oh snap, it just jumped. That always happens.
Why does that do that to you?
Know.
You're the only person that does that to.
It doesn't want to listen to me.
It's so far out.
Sweet nectar. Sweet nectar.
You just have big thumbs.
I do. My thumbs are terrible for like even texting. What am I going for here?
Oh, here you go.
Got it. I'm holding that.
I don't need you to hold it.
Okay. Question. What do you do when you have a smelly student?
I don't know. Help us, because we have a lovely age at home. Right now.
Our kids are at the age now where deodorant is necessary, and they don't always think so. They go, nah, I don't stink. Bro, it doesn't matter about you. Brushing your teeth is not about us. It's about the people we talk to. And except when you wear the coronavirus mask. When you go out with that mask on, you're like, damn, should have brushed again. Should have just brushed again because I ate that peanut butter and jelly sandwich and now I'm smelling it. So it's tricky because if you have a student that smells, right, because they're either not bathing or they don't have deodorant or whatever it is. Sometimes I have students that it's a cultural thing. Like I've had students that like, they just come, they move here from somewhere that like doesn't like bathing's not like, it's either not an option or it's like wearing deodorant's not a thing that they do. And so you have to have that conversation. Sometimes it's because kids just don't have money. Sometimes it's because kids like don't have, like, there's no money for deodorant. There's no money for like water is a thing at home. And sometimes kids are just raised like that. Like, it's just like not a priority in your life to like smell good. So it's, to me, it's always a conversation that's based around, like, look, this is something I'm noticing. And I just want to address it, right? I'm not judging it, I'm just bringing it up. And so if I'm not really connected with a kid, I don't have the conversation. I find someone else that is, because it has to come from the right voice. Because the last thing you want someone to do is feel bad or feel like you have to do this for me. But in all honesty, what I'm really trying to look out for is, one, I do want to teach self-care and self-respect for yourself. Two, I really want to, it's like school's such a brutal place anyway that, man, if you're the smelly kid, you're just going to get dogged by everyone. And then look, I don't mind helping you fight your battles or like sticking up for you when students are doing whatever they're doing. But it's like, that one's too easy. It's like, so it's, what I do usually is my guy Meeks, who I talk about in the book and is a really good friend of mine at school. He knows all the kids and he can have that conversation. Sometimes Cho is the person to do that. Sometimes our social worker, Miss Morales, will do that. And she's really great and gentle with students. Sometimes that means like, she'll just call home and say, hey, look, if you could talk to your student about this, like this is a thing that we're noticing. Yeah. And so that it's tricky situation, but I think it's about finding the right voice, the right messenger for the message, because otherwise, you're going to break someone's heart or embarrass them, and no one wants to do that. Wendy Clark is asking, if you eat lunch with your students every day, which is awesome, how do you build relationships with your colleagues, especially if you're brand new to the school? That's a great question. So, sorry, I didn't know where you want that. That's a great question. So one, let me think about how I would do that initially. I'm real big on, so when I first started teaching, if I was brand new, if I started at a new school next year, right? One, I wouldn't have students eat in my room. I'd still put the invite out there on the first day of school and say, hey, look, if you ever want to eat in my room, it's just an open space. You don't have to hang with me. You don't have to talk with me, or if you don't want to, they always will. But you just give them that option to like come in and not have to feel like they have to engage with you, especially if it's like a introverted student. But if I was brand new, I'd probably do it on certain days and say like, yo, every Monday and Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, like you can eat in my room. Tuesday and Thursday, I would go eat like in the teacher's lounge. Or I would say, like, as that kind of gets rolling over the first few weeks, and you're talking to teachers like, yo, you should come eat in our room. Like I eat with the students every day. And what that's going to do is like, not every teacher wants to do that. And not every, like, and that's not a diss. Like some teachers just need that time off. And I get it. There are times in the school day when it's like, man, that's why I go to Dunkin' Donuts every day. I drive to Dunkin' Donuts. It is a 7-minute round trip. And it's a waste of money, kind of. Like I could just make coffee at school, but like I want that ride where, because even when I'm in the parking lot, sometimes at school, kids will see me in my car and they come out there, or faculty members come out there, they knock on the door and they're like, so-and-so's mom's here to see. And it's like, dude, I'm on break. Like, I'm like in the car. Like, I can't get any like further away from the school without like parking down the street and looking like a real wacko. But I just take a ride to Dunkin' Donuts every day to just get out of the school. So I just think, splitting your time, and then look, building relationships isn't a real time consuming activity. It's also getting there a little bit earlier in the morning, saying what's up to people, saying something nice, giving someone something, leaving something in a mailbox. You're building relationships in all these little ways, going out after school, maybe grabbing dinner with someone, or apps and drinks after school. I feel so bougie. That's why I got to say it, like apps and drinks. So it's finding those other times. The only time you can really build relationship with students largely is in school, though. So that's why I use that time. And again, because, in high school, like I hated eating lunch. Like that first day in the lunchroom at school in my freshman year was the worst. And I have vivid memory of it. So I try and provide the students with that out. So that's how I balance those two sort of things. Erica Smith is asking, what time is the event on Tuesday? It's 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be awesome. The teachers that are on there are phenomenal. It's like Dustin Ecker and Apron Educator, Barry White Jr., not the Barry White that you think, not yo girl. That's who I thought it was at first. Don't Call Me Shivy. I'm going to forget the other girl's last name. Starts with a K.
I don't know.
Oh, but all those folks are together. Maisha Hutchinson, our old friend, is asking, how would you respond to a parent requesting for printed copies of assignments that you have currently placed on Google Classroom? The parent punished their child for using technology.
I know the answer to that one.
I wouldn't do it. Right? Like,
yeah, because the punishment from technology, it's like not a gift that they're able to go on technology to go use. Like, that's a weird excuse, and just putting more work on the teacher for no reason.
It's like the parent.
That's not your responsibility.
Because the parent can just print it out, right? Like,
I don't know, but that's their responsibility.
Or
is that mean?
So all right, so like let's take a look at this. What if the parent? So if we're looking at a parent like that is working, that
okay, that's true, and
can't trust their student to be home alone with technology. What if the parent doesn't have a printer? What if they don't
took
have
all
ink?
The technology?
Because everybody in the world knows, every parent in the world knows that if you have a printer doesn't mean you have ink. Like, right? It's just like, how many inkless printers are out there in the world just sitting there? Because or you're just have to start printing in blue because the black ran out. So in that case, look, Maisha, I think, all right, to be honest with you, now I rethink it. It's like, would I make an exception? It would depend on the student. And it would depend on the situation. It would depend on the parent. It would depend on a lot of those things. But then it's like, are you responsible for printing that out, for mailing that at your own cost because their kid can't keep it together? I think I would reach out to an administrator and say like, hey, how do you want to handle this? Like, what are we going to do for these particular students that don't have this situation? And then it's like something gets mailed to your house. I know us, like we're the crazy people right now that
I take stuff out of the mailbox, put it in a random bag, and let it just sit there for days before I open it.
Yep.
Because I don't want to touch it because I think the mail is gross.
Yeah. And then then what happens? Like the kid has to mail it back to you or something like that. Like it just seems tricky. I don't know if Royster, what would you do in that situation? You're an administrator. I'm just wondering like how you would handle that.
First of all, I like that a lot of people have commented inkless printer over here.
It is.
Tracy, thank you for not making me feel insane.
Hashtag inkless printer. Yeah. So I get like it's a tricky question because it's like you want to be sensitive to someone's needs and what they actually have going on. But if but the other part of me is like, bro, no. Like when dudes keep handing work in that's 35 days late, and I'm like, but I know the guy. Like I know who I'm dealing with. Yeah. I know your situation. It's like some kids, I get it, man. I had kids hit me up that are having a real hard situation. They're having like a real hard time. Their depression is really overwhelming them. The anxiety of all of this is overwhelming them. There's not enough computers in the house. It's overwhelming them. Like that is Maisha. So that I get. But when you know your students, it's like, you know who's trying to pull a fast one on you, who's not. Yeah.
Someone said that our school has us email assignments to the receptionist, and they print off and make copies of our lessons for students to pick up.
Brilliant.
That's
done.
Right?
That's what you do. That's what I would do, and I would let administration know as well. It's to say, here's what's happening. Here's how I feel like I want to handle this, so that it's not costing me money, and so we're still meeting the needs of the student. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah. Plus,
that copy machine is just sitting there. And you know it works right now too, because copy machines. That's the one. Look. I mean, come on, it's 2020. Right now, I'm talking to people all over the world on my computer, but I can't make 30 copies without that thing getting jammed up. And then you get it jammed up and you got to pull out 97 drawers.
Well, it's the same thing with all of the printers around that are inkless or just they don't
You can
work
tell
right.
who never got hurt doing it because they just put their hand in there like it's not a big deal. And I got burnt on a printer one time, and it was gnarly, man. So I'll stop that tirade right now. But Alex Q is asking, we are opening up schools again on May 14th here in Finland. Do you have any tips for easing students back into learning into the classroom again? By then we will have been out for 2 months equals chaos. So first of all, Alex, the rest of the world, we all know that whatever Finland's doing in education is right? So, it's fantastic. Who sent me that book?
Maybe not opening up on May 14th.
Well, so look, I mean, it's tricky, right? Like, I think, what's his name? Did you get
Alex.
Alex. So Alex, I think, gosh, one, I just think leading with care is always the move. Leading with a sense that, oh my God, I'm so glad that you're back. I'm so thankful that the year didn't end like that. I'm so thankful that I get to see you again is like, has to be it. I wouldn't expect a ton of students to show back up. Who was it last week? Somebody from Sweden said their students came back that week and they had about 50% attendance rate. And I think they were in Sweden. And so that is something to me. I just think leading with care, helping students work through things like anxiety, helping students like get back into the groove. But I think it's going to be like riding a bicycle. I think you're going to have a week, maybe a couple days of sort of that awkward beginning stuff, like the beginning of the year. And then you're just going to jump right back into it and it's going to be game on. Look, to be honest with you, man, I'd love to hear about how that goes. Like if you show up next week and give us an update, like how many students are showing up to school? What was it like? How are they handling social distancing and stuff like that when you're in school? Because essentially, I mean, even though we're separated, right? Like everyone's in the same room. The ventilation system leads to all the classrooms. So I'm just interested in how that's going to play out. But yeah, I think leading with excitement and care and genuine sense of like, even though I would be nerve-wracked to go back into a classroom setting right now with all that's going on, especially because New York has the highest numbers in the United States. I live in New Jersey, which is right next to New York City. And I mean, I don't live right next to New York City, but like I live in southern New Jersey, and that we have the second biggest, right now, still like Jersey is the second biggest rate. And then Philly's a huge city also. So it's like, I'm in this space where I don't know how good I would feel about it, but I would absolutely make the best out of it if I had to go back and I didn't have a choice for some reason. Ryan is asking, hey, I don't know why I can't read my own name. Ray Reynolds, what are you doing with your scholars with IEPs? I have ADD and struggle to stay on top of my WFH. I'm so old. What the hell does WFH mean? Responsibilities. Work.
Oh, my own responsibilities. That's what I think.
No.
Work from home.
Oh. Oh, you won. Ding, ding, ding. So I really get that they're having a hard for them too. Just give extra time. So I give extra time. I also keep my lessons short and sweet. As my buddy Adam Welcome was saying, like, it's trimming the fat. So it's like, so last week, let me tell you about a mistake I made. So I'm trying to do a lot of short stories and periodicals because I just think that works. So teaching high school English, it's easier than my students don't have access to novels. No one has a Kindle. And if they do, they're spaced out. Cell phones aren't always reliable and stuff like that. Internet's not always reliable. So for me, it's posting stuff on Google Classroom and creating videos that go along with the stuff. But last week I posted the story, the lottery, the short story of the lottery. And it's, I don't know, 8 pages or something like that. But what I should have done and what I talked to my curriculum director about was that, so I posted the story. I posted like bare bones questions that were like, not all just comprehension questions, but like some other stuff, like some looking for textual evidence, stuff like that. The problem was, and he said this too, like students that are going to look at 5 to 8 pages of reading are just not going to do it. Like there's certain kids that just aren't going to do it. And when we're not there to sort of read with them, it becomes difficult. Now I did include an audio version of it that I found on YouTube for free. I attached it to the Google Classroom, and in 17 minutes you could listen to the whole thing. But I get it. Like that's still too much for certain students. So what I should have done was broken into parts. I could have done it like in 3 different parts, had kids read like only a little bit at a time or listen to a little bit at a time. So again, like I'm always talking about, you're rigging the game so the kids can win. And that's probably what I should have done, especially with the students with IEPs in mind. So the other thing I do that I've just been doing a lot of is just calling students or texting students. We've been using, and I haven't been using it a lot yet, but House Party is like the new app that all of my students are doing. So it's like, what it looks like is like essentially social media platform. You put your stuff in there and then you just kind of go live on it, and whoever else is live or sees, like if you get a push notification, so I'll get a push notification that like some of my students or fellow teachers or my brothers on there, and you can just go in and then talk to them. And this is a really great safe space to, I think, talk to students, because it's not a phone call, it's not an email. It doesn't seem so cold and like sort of formal as those platforms do. Then there's also other issues of like, what does your school think about social media, and can you like, there's that kind of wackiness. So I was talking to a girl last week, teaches in Camden, New Jersey, where I used to teach, and she said that she has to record all of her Zoom calls that she does with her classes and then upload them to Google Drive when she's done, in case they need, like, someone says the teacher said something or did. Yeah, it's like proof for, like, I guess if like teachers or students act in an inappropriate way,
it's recorded.
Yeah, it's just like, bro, like,
yeah, no,
what? That's such an extra step now to just do when we have so much to do.
Learning isn't already enough work.
No, and that's even a whole nother thing of like, how the hell do we teach in a world where teachers just can't be trusted? Like, bro, do your work. Like, keep it cool. Like what are you doing on a Zoom call with a whole bunch of kids that you're out of pocket, and now like we have to have proof on a Google Drive in case you do something stupid? Like, and if your kids are doing it, like, I don't know, I just think there's better ways of handling it than recording it, and then what are you gonna do? Send a clip to the parent? Like, yeah. It seems nuts. Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
What's the lack of personal connection and all?
Yeah. So I've found that it is the personal connection rather with the student that motivates them. So that's the move. That's what I think. That's what I'm doing anyway. Amber Morris is asking, how can I do better with e-learning? Amber, this is the question, right? It's tough. It's tough because I'm not sure. In answering this, it's like knowing what someone's situation is, knowing what their student situation is, their school situation, what the parameters they have on. Are you teaching from a script? Are you just making it up as you go? I think there's a couple things that I can do. So let me speak to this. How can I kind of get better from the stuff that I'm doing? One, my plan this week is to reach out to other English teachers at my school and say, what have you done yet? And can we swap lessons so that I'm not recreating the wheel all the time? Two, I'm only grading 1 day a week from now on. It was going to be Friday, but I had a commitment on Friday. So I knew I couldn't get through all the grading, and I don't like to do bits of grading. Like I hate at school when someone goes, "How come you didn't grade my paper? You graded their paper." And it's like, I want everyone's grades to go in at once in like within a 2-hour period or so, and it's done. So I'm only grading 1 day a week, so that I can, and then everything's up to date. I'm also creating, from going forward as much as possible, lessons that we only have to post 2 days a week. On Tuesdays and Thursdays are English. So I will post something on Tuesday, and it will be the Tuesday-Thursday lesson. It'll be broken into 2 parts, but I'm going to post it all there now. And then there's it can only be handed in until Friday. Now, look, our school says that we have to accept all late work. That means over the past 5 or 6 weeks, every single thing that has been handed in or that comes in late, I still have to grade. I get the rationale behind this, but that is incredibly taxing and incredibly time consuming. So I'm also not making that work a priority. I'll still grade it, but I'm just not going to grade it immediately. Like, that's not that week. I'm grading everything that I can from that week that was handed in on time. And then late assignments will get, like, I'll just do them in the order in which they came in, and a few a day or something like that, like whatever feels reasonable to me or that I can figure out that day. And then, like I said, switching things with other folks. I'm going to do a lot more. I'm going to use Scholastic a lot. It's, and I've done brand deals with Scholastic before. I'm not in one right now, so this isn't a push for them or ad for them, but they just have like up to date, like, so their Upfront magazine is created by the people from New York Times. So you can go on there, and it's like timely news articles and things that are interesting to students. They have lessons, they have questions that you can ask your students. You have like, if you were doing a live class, you could follow along with some of their procedures that they have on there. And it's just really well done. And I don't feel that way about a lot of stuff. I feel like a lot of teacher content that's created for the internet is created by someone who was a software developer, someone that learned about learning or learned about teaching, but never actually did the thing. And so it's not real conducive to the class. It wasn't like for teachers by teachers kind of a thing. And a lot of stuff on TPT is a lot of just worksheets and crap. And it's not real. It's not like learning. It's more like, this looks cute and I can give it to you and I'm going to look like I did the job. But look, overall, last thing I want to say about this is there's going to be some loss in what we're doing here. And I think that if we all just kind of own that and don't beat yourself up and beat your students up, like, have grace for you and your students, and know that next year there's going to be slack to pick up. This is going to have a ripple effect over the next few years. But what are we learning out of this, and how are we growing out of this, I think is, and doing the best with what we've got. It feels like a little bit like I'm in a movie like The Bad News Bears right now, and I'm just trying to figure it out as I go. So that's what I think a lot of this is right now. Kristen is asking, question, I was interviewing for a social studies position and was surprised to find out that it was for a magnet program position. I did my best. Do you have any tips on getting hired for magnet jobs? So look, I think from my understanding, those are jobs that so magnet schools, for those of you that don't know, at least around here, this is my understanding of them, it's like a charter school and people can apply, but you have sometimes they have testing, sometimes the application process. So they pick kids that are kind of it's more like a private school setting. It's a best of the best sort of situation. So, the only job I never got that I applied for was at a public school near my area, but it was the teachers there had really good degrees. Like the guy that beat me out for the job or that ended up getting the job had his undergrad from Harvard and his master's from Penn. And so it's like, on paper, I don't win. On paper, a community college graduate, and I went to Rowan University in New Jersey, which back then wasn't even that place is bougie as hell looking now. It's a really, really wonderful school. And it was a good school when I went there, but it was more like a teacher's college. And so on paper, I just don't look phenomenal. But, so it's, to me, it's always been about getting to the interview. I think if you're going to do it, one, it might depend on that paper stuff. But two, it's I just think doing stuff like looking up the school before you go on the interview helps, because you are knowledgeable about where you want to teach, and you can look up things and ask about specific programs and show that you know something about their school. Again, it's like when you go on a date with someone, you don't want that. And this is from a guy that has not been on a date in like 26 years with someone other than the not so secret wife. But when you go on a date with someone, you don't want to let them know that it's like just another date, or like, this isn't like, I don't really care. You want to go in like, no, this is, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about in this one, in terms of dating. But I just think like, it's not, you don't want to be like, I got another date after this, right? Like that school wants to feel special. They want to feel like you're present. They want to feel like you actually want to be there. So going into it with that mindset really, really helps. And then I think, man, in my life, the handwritten note has gone so far in 100 ways in my life, where you literally can write it out ahead of time if you want to. And on your way out of the building, throw it in a mailbox down the street. Hey, thanks so much for having me and for interviewing me. It was really nice to meet you and your staff. I look forward to hearing from you all in the future. My best to you, signed, whatever your name is. And that just goes so far, because everyone else is sending a follow-up email. You are going old school, sending something that shows up in the mail that someone's going to see and see you took the time to actually write something out. I just think personal touches like that go forever, which is, yeah. That's the end. I could talk about that forever, but instead I will go on to the next question, which is
last one.
Oh, okay. Casey. I was going to say that was the same question. Casey Job is asking, what do you think about the recent talk to catch up students next year? What do you think teachers should do to make learning deficits from school closures? Look, Casey.
Oh, wait, before you
answer
that. Or Cassie,
maybe.
Someone said, Mr. James Pete said, I not only write a personalized letter, but I call that night when nobody is there and leave a message.
Bam.
That's smart.
Mr. James Pete. It's a good move, man. That's smart, because you're like, going to be on the voicemail.
Yeah.
And you're not like interrupting anyone or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's a sweet move.
Thanks.
I'm gonna take
okay.
that. All right. So so Cassie, I think the idea of catching students up is not going to happen, right? Here's why. I think here's why. School doesn't need to take as long as it does. I think that we take these concepts, and it's like, some days my lesson could be 10 minutes, man, but I got to fill 55 minutes with something. Like, to me, it's about building skill. So in my class, it's not just learning simile, metaphor, like all the different literary terms. It's not just about knowledge acquisition. It's about skill acquisition. It's about building students that are readers, but are readers with grit. We find that in our school, a lot of our students don't do well on state testing because they don't have the grit to read through a long passage. So what they do instead is they just try to answer the questions and then go back and look in the essay till they get tired of doing that or bored with doing that. And then they just skip the rest of those questions or just fill them in. But they don't have the grit to be able to read through a long passage because either their reading level's not there, either they just aren't used to reading that much, or they're distracted. So it's building in that grit. So which is why we have independent reading day every week, or that we read together in class, even though that's not a popular thing that folks do, or we read in small groups and everyone takes a turn. Because you need to build up that grit for students. It's not just about answering questions, but it's like having in-depth answers. It's about looking at your opponent in an argument, taking what they're going to say, what you think they're going to say, and then using it back on them. These are all skills that we're trying to build in our students. And so skills take time. I don't know that you can work out harder, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily getting stronger. I think you're just getting strained. And I think the worst thing that we can do is take our students who a lot of them are dealing with a lot in this time. I think educators, or not even educators, I think politicians are looking at this from are we checking all the boxes, and are our young people growing into 21st century learners and all this nonsense? But instead, we're not looking at the price that kids are paying right now by being home, by being disconnected, by being anxious, by being worried about mom being at work and can they pay for food and what happens when they run out of food or run out of money, or when, they're just like being cooped up too much and not having interactions with people. Like, we're not taking into account that this is a real toll that our students are going through. And when we don't do that, and then we just show up next year and it's like, all right, everyone had like this vacation, or you had all this time off. Now we got to catch up. It's like, bro, you don't solve stress by piling on more stress. Just take the year as it goes. And look, the first part of the year is everyone relearning what they learned last year anyway, because we all had off all summer. So I don't think that's that big of a deal. I think my students are going to be fine next year. There's going to be a little, like a slightly longer takeoff in the beginning of the year, but I think we're good. It's not, we haven't been out for a million years. It's like a few months. Even if it was a year, I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I think everyone's going to be fine. But the idea of like pushing kids to do more, it's like, I don't think the school day needs to be as long as it does. I don't think kids should be going in as early as they have. Like, my children, what time did our kids used to have to leave when we took them to school? 7:45?
Oh my God, we would wait if we were leaving at 7:45, like 7:40.
What in the hell are you taking 9-year-olds to school at 7:40 in the morning before? It's because it's a babysitting service is what it is. It's not because they're more academically rigorous in the morning or something like that. Lord knows the kids are all tired in the morning and not ready to go. So it's just tricky. So I'll end that read now too. This is J-Boy is asking, with the distance learning now, what is the pulse of the teaching community going forward that this is going to reshape how teaching is? Will schools start eliminating actual classes? That's a great question. I think my hope is that, one, from off the bat, that we actually celebrate teachers. I saw somebody, who did this? Somebody posted this on Instagram this morning, where there was like a mom's SUV, and on the side it was like written in paint or something, that you're a liar. My child is not a joy to have in class. It is an actual skill to show up every day to teach 20 to 40 kids in a classroom or more, to navigate all the stress, all the madness, all that's going on in their lives, to try and get them to want to learn, to come in engaged after, like, it's like having a baseball team that doesn't want to play baseball, and every day you got to try and coax them into playing baseball and let them think that it's actually fun. I think that is a skill, and it's not always, it's something that can be learned on a level, but like extraordinary teaching, I don't know. Like the jury's out for me on that one. I think it's talent. I think a lot of, folks that are going in the classrooms have a special gift to be able to do what they're doing. And so that's something. How it reshapes schools. Look, I think right now the name of the game is engagement. If you want kids to do work, you got to tell them why they're doing it. You got to give them what they got to know. And then you got to help them to get excited or motivated about doing it. And man, if teachers were allowed to have the autonomy in the classroom, not even to create their own lessons, like even if what you have is a textbook that you're given and that's all you got, are you given the autonomy to take this and make it into this? It's how are you going to sprinkle magic on top of the lessons that you're doing that's going to make kids want to show up and do it. So whether that's teaching through the lens of video games or hip hop or monster trucks or, I don't know, like Paw Patrol, right? Like depending on how old your students are, if you can connect it to things kids are excited about, if you can get them moving, you can get them engaged. I just think that that's going to be the move coming back to, is I'd love to be able to see like teachers having more autonomy to get students engaged and use some of these tips and tricks and all this stuff they're kind of coming up with now to get kids to want to do stuff. I just think it's going to be the jam. And this focus on social, emotional, and relationships, man. I've been ringing this bell so loud for so long that it's relationships are everything. And now those of us with relationships are making withdrawals on that investment because you've built that relationship. You can call that kid and say, bro, I'm really concerned about you. I really want to see you doing the work. And I really want to see like how you're doing, how you feeling, what's going on in your life. And when you can do that, kids know that they actually care. You're not a teacher that's never talked to that kid ever. And then you're calling and being like, hey, I'm wondering about your grades right now. It's like, bro, you never cared before this. Why do I care now what you're saying? And you're making those withdrawals in the investment. That's going to be huge. And so making sure that teachers have time and space to do that with students when they go back to school is going to that's going to be a game changer also. Tonight is called Long Answers with Reynolds.
It's always called that.
It should be called Live from the Laundry Room. Jeremy, that is curious way that you spell your name. I kind of dig that. Jeremy Lessard is asking, hi CJ, what are your 3 best tips you could give for a student teacher? Well, first of all, I have 2 videos on this. If you just go into the top of my channel and you go to, there's a little magnifying glass when you go on the channel, you can just type in student teaching, and then there's a bunch of stuff on there. I think top 3 would be 1, have fun. I think you should always be trying to have fun. I think, it makes your whole life better when you try and make something fun. 2, get to know your students from day 1. Do not wait till you feel comfortable. Don't wait till you think like, like it's your time or your place to be able to start engaging with students. I think from day 1, you're standing at the door, you're shaking every single hand that comes into the classroom, saying what's up, talking to kids in the hallway, talking when they show up, when they leave at the end of the day. That's the move. And then 3, remember that teachers actually know more than you think they do. So look, teaching is a hard job. And I think sometimes when I was student teaching, I had a critical or judgmental eye when I looked at teachers because I thought like they had lost the juice. They didn't have the sauce anymore. And so, but when you start doing the job, you realize that it ebbs and flows. Some days I'm on fire. Some days I go into school, I'm on 10, and I just feel like I'm in Reservoir Dogs, except for the killing part when everyone's like, what? When it's that slow-mo walk like down the hallway and like music's playing in your head, you're like, damn, I got this today. And then other days I'm on 0 and I don't have it. And so I've had those days when folks have come in to see what I'm doing, and I just don't have it. Like I'm not living up to like whatever they thought they were going to see when they come in. And so it's like, but it's taking teachers' advice and really internalizing it despite what you're seeing them do in the classroom sometimes, because sometimes they're just having a hard day. And I think it's important to always remember that people are fighting a battle that we know nothing about. That even when someone looks like the shit on Instagram, real life is still happening, man. It's real stuff still going on. So
nobody knows what's happening in your head, It's sometimes
they don't.
A good place for people and sometimes a bad.
Yes. Cool. Stacy Moreland is asking, I'm worried whatever in-class / digital hybrid my county comes up with this fall is going to make it difficult to foster those positive relationships with my students. Any advice for that? Stacy, this might be unpopular, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think that if we make kids our priority, we win every single time. There are any number of things that and this is me saying this live on the internet, and I have no idea who really watches this stuff. So it could be my school. I put kids over everything all the time, no exceptions. The end. So it's about making small, and look, that doesn't mean I'm not shirking my responsibilities. I'm not getting stuff done all the time, but I put kids first all the time. And I think when we do that, we're showing students that they're more important to us than the lesson is, than the rules are, which is, fair is not always equal. And so that, if I have a kid that does something in class and someone else does the same thing, it's like, this kid didn't get in trouble and this kid did. And they're like, how come I got in trouble? He didn't do it. Bro, fair is not equal. And it's not because don't think of him higher than you, but I know what this guy's backstory is. I know what he came in with this morning. So when he cursed in class, I didn't jump on him for it because I know he's trying to work that out. He's trying to be present. He's trying to be here, but it's hard for him today. When I let kids sleep on my couch sometimes, when I know that in the past kids have had a very, very difficult night, that some kind of trauma has met them, that maybe someone died. I've had any number of kids that someone's died in their life and then they still show up to school. Why? Because they need the consistency and there's nowhere else to go. Kids that have gotten kicked out of their houses and I know they were sleeping somewhere on the street, and so they come in and sleep on my couch that day. And we have a conversation that this isn't going to be an ongoing thing, but if you need a day and you need to check, you got it. Like I'll back you on that. So it's I think putting our students first is always the best things. Look, I really think that administrators, all of them, really got into the job because they have kids on their heart. They care about kids the most. But when making policies, when doing politics, you got to do what you got to do, right? You got to make the thing look a certain way. But even with all the problems we have with our kids going to our own public school, my sense was at a heart level, these people really cared about children. But I think
the teachers did.
Yes.
The admin, not so much.
But
heck, I will argue. I cannot even get started on that through the conversations that I've had with admin at our district school for our children.
Yeah.
Get the heck out of here. You're dang right. And I have so much to say and actual documentation that proves otherwise with our fight with it.
I'll say this.
The teachers always had a heart for our kids and any concerns that.
But even some of the folks we dealt with, I felt like it was, now look, they felt like their hands were tied. I don't think their hands are really tied. I mean, look, we got to keep jobs. People have to take care of their families. They have a mortgage. You don't know what's going on. Whether if they lost their job because they stood up for kids instead of for policy, I don't know what would happen to them. And so maybe you feel like your hands are tied. But even some of those folks, if they were at a school where if they were in a position where they could have given Brody all that he needed, I think they would have. But instead, you feel like, your superintendent or whatever, the hand of God is going to come down and strike you down if you allow.
Yeah, and that's 100% the problem in our district is that the superintendent literally made moves against the teachers if they stood up for anything other than.
Because all of a sudden those teachers found themselves in the super, in the classroom with the kids that are all self-contained, that are the really.
I will say this: the head of the special ed director for our district, she's former because she's no longer there, probably because I pushed her out. But she, even if she could, would not have because that's not who she was.
That's possible too. But I'm saying I think the majority of administrators are really in it for the kids. Majority, right? Not everyone, right? There's some evil people out there probably.
Before we go full marital discourses.
Oh yeah, here we are. It looks like I'm talking to myself right now.
I know.
So if someone's muting this, it's just it looks like, who the hell is Reynolds? Is just off talking to Wilson. He's been in quarantine for too long.
He's going nuts. Okay, go ahead, move on.
This is why we should co-host this. I keep telling my wife we should co-host this, but could you use a puppet? Here. Yeah, just have a little. We'll get Lionel Richie and we'll dress it up like you. Hello. Kate, the sleepy teacher, would love it. Weber is asking, I attend community college this fall and will be taking EDU classes. My college doesn't do field experiences. Do you have any advice on seeking out opportunities to work with students? This is a great question. First of all, Weber, I want to say that community college should just be taken more seriously. My students think that community college is I don't know. It's you're just not good enough. And I think my community college experience, I went to Camden County College in New Jersey, had a great experience, had some of the best professors that I've ever had in my life, some of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. And I just cannot say it loud. So I'm broke all the time as a teacher, but so I just never make the purchase. But my dream is when we go to school and we have days where we can wear our college sweatshirts and stuff like that, or college t-shirts. And I work with people that my friend Sarah went to Harvard. My friend Randy went to Harvard. Other people have gone to UPenn or gone to Wharton or Penn State. And it's what you do with what you've got that really makes the difference. And that's not a lot of bumper stickers, but I just think it's awesome. So how do you get into getting chances with students? I think I would call local schools and say, hey, this is my situation. Maybe write an email and say, I'm looking to start engaging with students and build my skill set. Do you have any opportunities available? I could tutor kids after school. I could work as part of an after school program or whatever. Or do you have any teachers that wouldn't mind if I came in and just like observe their classes once a week, once a month, like whatever is doable for you. But I think it's reaching out to folks and just asking those questions. You'll find it. Maybe you could work for a tutoring center. Maybe you could just start tutoring on your own. I know that, like, I haven't checked in a while, but I remember one summer when I just like needed to make money, I was looking up on Craigslist, and Craigslist had tons of tutors that were on there, and you could just go on, post, and some folks are charging $30 to $50 an hour that you can do
50 to 80
or 50 to 80. I would charge 100 because I'd be like, yeah, I think I would. I'm trying to price myself high these days. It's my kind of, if you want your kid to get his ass taught off, that sounded weird. So like I think it's creating your own experiences, and that's what I would do. I think a nice phone call to any number of schools, the 20 schools that are closest to your house, asking them, and then look, here's the kicker for that, dude, is that if you do that, you're building connections with staff, you're building connections with administration, they get to see your face. If a job opening comes up there and you can apply for it after you're done going to school, you have that much more of an in at that particular institution because you've already created those connections there. Natalie is asking, Natalie Blackman, how do you consider, have you ever considered moving to administration or a different position?
That goes along with that very last one.
Tyler Smith said, should teachers want to move to any administration positions, see what we can do there? Have you ever considered move to admin realm? So I have, but one of my favorite comedians, if not my favorite comedian of all time, is this guy, Mitch Hedberg. And so Mitch Hedberg used to say, I got into comedy to do comedy. But everyone, when you get into comedy, they want to know, great, you're a comedian, can you act? And he's like, that's kind of like asking someone that's been, that worked really hard in their life to become a really great cook. It's like you spent all these years perfecting your craft to be a really great chef. And they go, great, you're a great cook. Can you farm? And he said, like, to me, that like teaching's always kind of been like that. I got into teaching to teach. I didn't get into being an administrator. There were thoughts I had even recently where I would try to, I thought about doing that because I thought like I could help more students in the ways that I really wanted to help students and build, like maximize those relationships. But I don't think it's in the cards for me. Those that I know that have been at least assistant principals, and Royster might be able to speak to this more, is you are problem solving and cleaning up issues all the time. And doesn't seem like this is my own experience with talking to educators. This is not like, I don't really know this. That's why I said like Richard Royster might know better, but there's not as much time to just have student engagement because you're constantly putting out fires. And so I don't want to do that. I don't want to clean up problems for other people. But if I was a teacher coach or something like that, that would be something, I think that would be a little bit more interesting, but then I'm not dealing with students as much anymore.
So it's not for everybody.
Yeah, Royster said it's not for everybody. So, crisis management nonstop, that's my job. And so I think what my next move for me is at some level is really taking what I've been doing with Rap With Reynolds and kind of either taking that on the road or working that into curriculums or something like along those lines. Like I'd really love, I think even in schools that don't have a lot of money, I think teachers are constantly student focused and they don't focus on themselves enough. And so there's not the self-care, there's not time to like really build up their base and from what they can pull from and put into lessons, put into ideas, put into their classrooms, because there's so much that's required of us to put into our students. And that's the draw to education, right? The draw isn't a dope classroom or work-life balance or something like that. The draw is students. And so I think my next kind of chapter in my life is going to be putting into teachers. It's helping teachers maximize who they are and what they've got and helping them to look at what they can and make something from nothing sometimes, but to maximize that so that they can be better teachers for their students, I think, and serve their communities in a fuller capacity. So
I always think that you would be a great admin though. Like Richard Royster said, like crisis management nonstop, that you're so good at that.
Yeah, I
You're a natural leader. You're really good
and
at crisis. Like you come up with like unique situations. I think you'd just be a really great admin. But if you're just like teaching, right? If you're not passionate about it, like don't go.
It's not that I'm not passionate about it. What I'm getting at this point in my career is there's too many students and not enough time. And so like I know that like I know what my strengths are and I know what my weaknesses are. And so if my strengths are largely it is, and this can go for any teacher that's trying to think this out, right? Where do your strengths lie and how do you maximize, to me, the way I think about this, right? Not to get too woo-woo, but like, how do I maximize the blessing that I can have on other people? I think comes at, for me, starting to interact more with educators, because I could have my 120 or so students or the 500 kids that I really get down with the most every year. That's that number. Yeah. How do I multiply that? Has been YouTube, books, speaking, all that stuff. So how do I do that at scale? Start having an effect on the education system by pouring into teachers so they can pour into their students and their own communities is by expanding that, I think. Yeah. So anyway.
Someone just said teaching teachers is an excellent way to impact even more kids. Thank you.
Yeah. But in a real way, right? Yeah. It's not like the PDs that we all know and hate a lot of times, right? And so it's like trying to do something that's real for teachers, and that's what I'm thinking about. God, did I read this? No, Scott is asking, do you think it's worth, Scott, baseball profile pictures make me a little bit sad because I don't watch a lot of sports on TV, but man, there's almost nothing I love more than going to a baseball game, eating a really crappy hot dog and drinking expensive cheap beer is,
That's it.
It is. With the sunshine, it's like, damn.
Marley would add French fries in there.
It's the best. I love everything about baseball games, especially because you get to yell and it's acceptable. Do you think it's worth it to get a master's to open up with other work opportunities in a school, not being a principal, though? So, Scott, I think there's definitely an uptick to having your master's. Some states, some schools require that now. Or you're going to get overshadowed if you don't have your master's. I don't have my master's, like I said, but part of that's because I didn't start teaching till I was 27. Then I started having kids, and then life just got too busy. Like it wasn't that I couldn't go back to school. I did not want to put that on my priority list. I wanted to be present for my children, and especially now, I am completely thankful that like my wife stayed home with my kids. I was home with my kids as much as possible. I'm present with my kids because they go from 0 to almost 13 now. Brody will be 13 this summer in a friggin' heartbeat. It's so fast and it's crazy. So like, so I didn't want to do that. And now at this point, I don't think I'll ever go back for that, but, and that's for a whole host of reasons, but it depends on the district that you're teaching in the state you're teaching at. I would look at, what is your kind of competition going to be going into some of the schools? Like get in touch with some teachers at local schools or the schools that you think you want to teach at. And if that's the gig, do it. Because you're going to need that piece of paper to get in. But I think, to be honest with you, I think you can learn a hell of a lot on your own by really pushing the envelope, by reading all the books, by meeting all the people. It's those connections that are really going to help you elevate and get to your next space. By doing something like, and I'm not just saying this because I do mentoring, but like by doing mentoring with a teacher, that's going to help you on a personal level really grow as an educator, maybe more than getting your master's. But that's also coming from someone that doesn't have their master's. Okay.
That one, and then if not, the other one down.
Okay, got it. Yeah. I'll talk about it. So Joseph is asking, hey, CJ, what happened with Upgrade Ed? I went on to look at some of the behavioral management PD and I can't find it anymore. The Facebook page is blank too. Love the channel. So look, I'll speak to this and I'm going to be careful and but honest. So Upgrade Ed was this initiative that I had with 2 other YouTubers that wanted to do this idea of creating online professional development that we could create, that we could sell to districts was the dream and not just to teachers. Because anything that, it's like districts have more money than teachers do. So we tried that. The problem on my end was, and which was the only problem I think, was I needed to. So look, part of what I do on Real Rap with Reynolds is like I do this. I make all these videos. I put them out for free. I do create all this content for free. But the idea behind building this was always to be able to help my son get into a school that he needed. And so when we really kicked up Real Rap with Reynolds, it was because we knew Brody was, when I talk about how schools are for vanilla children and they, but what happens when your kid's mint chocolate chip, and I have a mint chocolate chip kid that doesn't fit into that vanilla lifestyle.
A mint chocolate chip and a Rocky Road.
I do.
We have two of them.
I have very, very different children. And so that just like learn their own way. They're wonderful and beautiful and amazing in their own way, but they don't fit the mold of traditional schooling. So when we really kicked this up, it was like, well, what can we do to make money to do this without, I don't want to take YouTube videos and make people pay for them. I didn't want to necessarily do a Patreon. I wanted to earn my money. I didn't want to just ask for a handout. And so what we did was we started writing the book. We started doing Upgrade Ed. I started speaking. I started, what else were we doing? I forget what other initiative we were kicking off. Mentoring. And it was literally like I was fishing on the beach. I threw out 7 fishing lines and I caught a fish on every single one of them. Like every single thing hit. Like when we started mentoring went through the roof. I actually got a book deal with an actual finish date that I had to have. Upgrade Ed was working, and the first course that we went out did really, really well. And I literally last summer spent so much less time with my family because it was literally
last summer was the worst between my dad's death and the workload.
But it was the worst. But it was also like
great.
That was the plan last summer. Was like, look, we're gonna forego like actual summer because we're just gonna work our asses off. And that was like spending weekends at people's houses and spending all night on working on content and all the stuff. So it became too much. I needed to step back and say, so this is my experience. I needed to step back and say, I can't do all these things. I need to take a hiatus from Upgrade Ed and just until I finish the book. Once the book is done and signed, sealed, delivered, we can rock that. My partners, I guess, didn't feel that way. And then I never heard from them again. Like it was just, that was the end. And I never heard from anyone again. I emailed, I texted and said like, I really apologize. I'm so sorry for what has happened. But then I just never heard anything again. So then but then it became this weird thing where like the Instagram site was still up, the website was still up for a while, but we weren't really running it. So it was like, I don't know, what do I tell people? I don't like loose ends, but if I can't get anyone to talk to me, what do you do with that stuff? Yeah. So it just became this tricky space that felt really crappy, but that's when you're working with people, you can only, there's constraints there. And so that's kind of what happened with that. But I never made like a public announcement or anything, which is what I would have loved to have done. Just say, hey, look, even if it didn't work out, I own it. And it really didn't work out because I was incredibly blessed in in all these other areas of my life that it was like too much stuff. I felt like Peter throwing the net over and catching too many fish in the Bible was like, dude, I can't pull this up on myself. Like the boat's going to sink. Mm-hmm. So it was like, I got to let something go so I can grow these other things. That's what it was. Yeah. Is that sufficient?
I think so.
All right. So that's the deal. Other question. Where was it? Snap. Okay. I forgot. I thought it was going to be the under ones. I didn't realize you moved it up. Jason is asking, I was thinking about teaching high school English, but I might want to be an entrepreneur instead. Which path would you recommend for work-life balance and overall satisfaction? So look, I think, Jason, I think whatever is going to make you really happy, I think you can do both. I certainly feel like that's what I'm doing right now, but I'll tell you, it's a lot of work. What no one can see from the other side of this camera is just how much I actually work. It is sometimes crazy. And the problem is I really love work. So I have to create work-life balance so I actually can engage with my kids, my wife, take care of myself. But I work 15, 16 hours a day, you know, yeah. And then like multiple days in a row for weeks at a time. It's getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, working, taking care of yourself, going to work, just spending the whole day at work, coming home, family time, and then working until 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes to get stuff done. And in the case of Upgrade Ed, that was 100% of what was actually happening, till it felt like what happens is things start getting watered down. You're not doing anything well. You're just kind of doing everything mediocre. But when you're young and you don't have kids, like I don't think I realized how much time I had when I was younger to actually like just get after it. So you could do both, but I think to me, it's like, what were you meant to do? What's your calling? What do you feel passionate about? Because teaching, when it's not a calling, it's hard to show back up the next day. It's hard when some kid curses you out, when a parent hates you, when nothing's going right in school, when you don't feel like it's actually your thing you were put on earth to do. Bro, it's real hard to show. It's like going on a date with someone that's trying to leave and does not want to date you, but you're like that girlfriend from Wayne's World that's like, no, Wayne, I brought you a gun rack. And he's like, what? Like, we broke up a month ago. Like, that's what, no one wants. Teachers need to show up with passion, with excitement, and feel like this is what they were given on this earth to do. And if you don't feel like that, it's worth, thinking about like, well, why would I want to teach then? Is it because I love English, or is it because I love, like, this is my job that I've been given to do? And so, yeah, that's what I would do. But like I said, I think there's all kinds of tie-ins in there. Like, I look at people like Casey Morris, 100% became a teacher entrepreneur. Like, there's all kinds of people that are on Instagram and YouTube that are like, that are running side businesses and doing stuff. Like, I think of my friend Megan Forms, who's Too Cool for Middle School, people that are doing brand deals, people like Jen Jones that are finding that medium space of like being able to do both and get after it. I think you can 100% happen.
Oh, dang it. It did move and it lost my space.
Oh, it wasn't just me?
No. All right, we're way over on time.
How can this happen? Oh, are our kids starving now?
No, they don't need us.
You got one more? Let's do one more. I start losing my voice all the time. That's my other thing. I feel like when teachers go back, one, no one's going to be able to hold their pee anymore. And two, we're all going to lose our voices in like 3 seconds because you haven't talked this much in forever.
Answer.
Sure. Mr. James Pete, not Peach, is asking, do you have any advice for this YouTube stuff? I love your channel, and it's so much more real than others of these channels that I've been watching. How did you connect? So, James, I think to me, there's a million things in this, right? But one of the things that I really love, Seth Godin wrote a book called The Purple Cow. And the Purple Cow the idea is that, look, there's a million hamburger restaurants out there. How do you differentiate yourself from everyone else? There's a million pizza places out there. How do you become the one everyone's talking about? So it is, to me, it's dialing in. I think this works for teachers too. You cannot look at other teachers, even the ones that you dreamed of being, even the one that inspired you when you were a little kid or when you were in college to be a teacher. You need to become the teacher that you were meant to be. And so I think on YouTube, there has been this homogenous thing that has happened where like certain teachers that started YouTube channels sort of set the tone. They set what the background's going to look like, how they're going to engage with their audience, how they're going to talk, how they're going to dress, how they're going to speak, what kind of things you're going to do.
Color palettes,
all of it. It is, some of it has become very homogenized, right? And look, I don't diss them. Like, if it works for you, if that's what makes you excited, I think, look, I love growing up. I played in a lot of cover bands. Like, I was a drummer. I played in a lot of cover bands, and I loved it, right? It wasn't my own music. I didn't write it. I didn't come up with this Stone song or the Tom Petty song. It was like, but I loved playing it, and I got to put my own spin on it, right? But I think it's something else, and I'm not lauding myself and saying like that I went and did this awesome, amazing, and original thing, but it's figuring out how do you fit into that. and so are the person that in your community that you are, and focusing on that. And I just think that works really well. So examples of this, I think Royster, Richard Royster, who's in here, has really done this. Royster does not run his YouTube channel like any other YouTuber. He celebrates his students, his school, his community. And it's awesome. It is 100% what Royster does. I think people like Colby Sharp, who has a YouTube channel that's not the same as everyone else's. He doesn't have the numbers that everyone else is, but you know what? He has a trusted community on there of followers he suggests something and they do it. He recommends a book and they buy it because he's become a trusted source to folks in his community that he can do those things. And so I just think that's it. And you have to get real used to having low numbers for a long time. But here's the thing with numbers, right? Kevin Kelly said it best. He's the creator of Wired Magazine. Kevin Kelly said, all you need is 1,000 followers. If you have 1,000 true fans, rather, followers sounds like you're,
culty.
Yeah, culty. If you have 1,000 true fans, those are the fans that are going to do anything that you built a real connection, right? So if you say, hey, everyone, this book's available now, they'll probably go buy that book and support that. When I told people about Colby Sharp's book, my hope is that people actually went and bought Colby Sharp's book. If you say, I'm listening to this podcast, I'm watching this show, I'm doing this thing, that 1,000 true supporters are really all that anyone really needs. Because if you are trying to make money from it, say you come up with a product, you sell that product and it's $100. You sell it to 1,000 people, that's $100,000 that you can make. And so that's what I really, really think is the move there. It's not trying to be like anyone else. Now, look, I look to people for inspiration on how I edit, the kind of music that I want to do, the kind of vibe that I want to create. I looked and I gained inspiration, but
it's really, I think for online, it's creating a community.
It's always creating a community.
What did, was it Seth Godin that said, like, you create people who operate out of like trying to create a product and then a community around the product doesn't work. It's just creating the community. That's a ton of entrepreneurs, but Seth Godin says that too. Yeah, you can't say like, I invented this coffee mug and now I have to find people that are going to use this. It's create a community and then say, hey, I made this coffee mug. If you're interested, would you be willing? It's available for sale on my website. And then that's what you're doing. Funny. That's exactly what we did, but unknowingly.
Yeah, well, that's because our gig was like, this is some real rap behind the scenes stuff. Was like, we just started creating videos with no hope that we would ever do anything with it, right?
No, we created videos for Verbi, which was the hilarious part.
Yeah, but then we created videos for teachers that we thought were funny or interesting or useful. And then that grew and grew and grew. And then to me, it's always been about community. My whole life is about community. So it's interacting with those people, which is why people like Tracy Pinter, like, not only do I know her, but like she's been to my house, that I've talked with Unicorns Rock on the phone and met up with Royster and brought him in when we went to Miami last year. And all this stuff
what's your jam? Relationship.
But that ends up, then I hear that piece of advice and I'm like, oh, well, that's what we were doing anyway, because it's always about community. The teacher talk is not ever about me. It's not about my talking head. If I could, I'd love to guest people in to answer different questions all the time. The technology isn't there for YouTube. But it's always been about all of us interacting together, showing up. And like someone said last week, feeling like you're at home and being a part of a group that we're all helping teachers to take it to the next level. Like Al Schmeier's book says, like next level teaching, or to teach your class off. I think that's what it's always been about.
Do you want to answer any teacher questions?
What you got? Thought that was the last one, but I'm good. I'm good to go. I'm starving right now, but I'm good. I'm down to answer questions.
I like that it's now quiet. No, I don't know where it went.
You lost it?
Here, you can answer.
It's jumping in. Janelle asked, hey, everyone, I work at a school and I'm with kids for almost 11 hours a day. I've been wanting to reach out to my kids, but I can't host a Google Meet. Anyone is a teacher, do you think would be too much to ask a teacher to host one for me so I can talk to my kids? Why can't you do it yourself? Can't host a Google Meet. Anyone? Yeah, I don't understand.
Oh, it's up there.
Graduating soon. I had great relationships with different teachers. Yeah, it's a good idea to make a video, but I wouldn't get to talk with them. I don't.
No,
I'm a monitor for K through 5, and I work at the before and after school program. I've been a surprise guest for lunches and. Do you know? I don't.
Oh, so she's not.
Am I missing
she's
something?
a monitor for K through 5, and I guess she goes to all of the different programs.
Oh,
and
got
she's
it.
not. She says I worked at their before and after school program, so she gets to be like a surprise guest for lunches. She also said it's really my 5th graders that I want to host one for because they're graduating soon, and we had good relationships.
So, look,
but they all have different teachers.
I have an answer for this.
Oh.
And if someone else has an answer, that would be great. I would contact parents and create an opportunity. Now, whether or not they want their child to go on there, or maybe they come on with their child, it's completely up to them. But it's in education so many times.
Yeah, but if she's not allowed to
time,
hold a Google Meet,
why?
I don't know, because she's not technically a teacher.
But if you're personally reaching out to parents and saying, if one of Brody's teachers said, or he had an aide like he's had before that he really connected with, right? Some of those aides, and they were like, "Look, I'm not the teacher. I'm not allowed to run a class or anything. But I'd really like to just see the kids. I'd really like to just let them know that I care, that I'm thinking about them, what I've been doing."
Can she make a video? Like, instead of having to contact parents if you're not allowed, like, you know, schools are, especially kids, like K to 5 or even 5th grade, like, that's could be touchy that you're not allowed. Can't she make a video, like, and send it out to the teachers to send out to the kids?
Absolutely. But what she wants to do is have interaction with the students.
Okay, go ahead.
Or I would just find a teacher that I really get down with, and I would co-host one and be like, "Yo, let me let me do this with you one day."
Oh, she said I'm not. She's not allowed to contact parents or teachers. I don't know.
All right, that's
make a video. That's literally the best thing that
I would make a video, and then I don't know.
Only teachers can. So she's like, I'm not allowed to contact parents. I don't have contacts. Yeah, I literally think your only move is making a video and sending it to teachers.
So Janelle, this is to send someone off to the Facebook group again. I just think that this is one of those moves where you like go to the Facebook group and you see what and this is why sometimes the best advice comes from someone who's already lived it. So somebody else has to have been out there that has tried to do the same thing you're doing and has found a workaround. And I think that that's the person to ask. Who are you asking?
Someone said, like, guest in as Google Meet. Like, what if you ask the teachers if you can join their Google Meets?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's what I would do.
Oh, that's hard. That's so hard for the people who aren't like.
It's awful. Like that a teacher is like, you build these connections with students and then you want to continue them and foster them, but then you're not allowed. It's like, bro, like.
And you just miss them.
What are we in the game for? We're not in the game because I love English, but like I love kids more. Like that's why I got into it. And I just feel like to me, English is the gateway to really talking about life, really exploring who you are and your story and why it's important and all this great, important stuff. But it's because of you that I'm here, right?
Yeah.
You know, which is the hardest thing about distance learning anyways. It cuts down on it. So cool. That's it. We'll cut it off there.
Yep.
Right. We're an hour and a half in. Look, people, tomorrow night or Tuesday night, I'm going to be on a program with Colin Powell and John Legend and Admiral William McCraven and a bunch of other Instagrammers and YouTubers. So it's called the Get Happy Hour. It is Tuesday, May 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's created by Explanation Kids and Time for Kids. And if you go right to the Get Happy Hour website, you'll see the link on there for everything where you can watch and all that stuff. And then the hope is they were talking about this is something that's potentially going to show up on CBS or NBC also. So it's going to be like this really great thing. They're trying to raise $1 million for teachers. And so, and it's in honor of National Teacher Appreciation Day. So here's my hope. My hope is that I do this. My hope is that they raise $1 million. My hope is that I come back here next week and I can tell everyone exactly where to go and how to get the money, and that you can all go on there and get supplies that you need so that you can help your students. So like, do you need a light ring? Do you need a computer? Do you need a microphone for your house? Do you need a green screen? Do you need, like, what do you need to make this to go on offense instead of defense in this time of distance learning, and make it your classes the greatest you can for your students? That's what I'm looking. That's why I'm such a huge supporter of this. So
watch it on the.
Yeah, so you can watch it at teachergethappyhour.com. There's the website, John, on there too. So that's it, gang. And that's it. That's all we wanted to tell them, right?
Yep.
So cool. That's it. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting the book too, and who's been like writing Amazon reviews and stuff, and like sending me all these amazingly gracious emails. It is never lost on me. I am so thrilled. And that's it, everybody. We'll see you next week. We'll see you tomorrow on Instagram, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Peace. Hitting all the buttons to make this turn off because it takes my whole life. Yeah.